Okay, good morning also. After a little bit of technical goofiness, we are all ready to go. So, hooray, Friday, welcome to the LSL live stream. I suppose we should stop saying getting ready for remote and saying we are into remote instruction. So, you made it through the first week. May not be perfect at it, but remember #yet. You made it through. Many of you have been sharing your stories, your victories, your successes, your struggles. We've been on so many emails and so many not live stream, but Google Meet calls with you folks. And it's just great that more and more of us are getting to really familiar with that tool. It's really helping us help you since we're working remotely. I know that this image is a special shout out to Dr. Purnell at the AFRC, who is in love with the child from The Mandalorian, or she insists on calling him. I know some of you might be feeling this way, ready to cancel your trial period of 2020. But remember, we can do this. We are doing it. You are doing such a fantastic job. We are hearing great things from not only you, but from your principals as well. It's really just tremendous a job, all the growth we're making and our kids are making, and you are getting stronger. A friend of mine who is a long-term high school teacher and then principal and then director, his name's John Ike. He says, education's like a rubber band. When you can feel the tension, you know it's working. Okay, so before we get to our main event, we've got some information items here for you. So IT, the good folks at IT are, working their and have asked me to make a request of you. So many of you are putting in help desk tickets. That's great. That's awesome. We've noticed that there's a decline in requests to us for things that should be going to IT, and they are noticing an uptick in their tickets. But then what happens is they send you a follow-up on the help ticket, or they send you an email asking you for follow-up or more information, or they need help helping you, and then some of you are not responding. So please, once you've put in a help ticket system, you will get follow-up emails that either say, hey, this has been addressed in the help ticket system. Please go ahead and look at it. Maybe look at it a day later, a couple days later. And in this time of remote work, not just for IT, but especially if you're having computer issues, please be on top of your email. There's a lot of official communication going this way. I know some schools have regular Google Meet meetings, either in the mornings or in the afternoons or whenever it is. But I know that it's, email's not our favorite thing in the world, but please be on top of it. As an example, this morning, or I think last night evening, I sent an email about, I think it was called Sharing Without PII is Caring About Personal Identifiable Information. And when we're sharing our stories on social media, that's an important piece of information, and you're expected to be aware of that. So email is even more vital than it normally is. One came out about this morning about best practices in Zoom, or not Zoom, we don't use Zoom, about Meet, because of a phenomenon called Zoom bombing, which hasn't happened to us. And if you read the email, you'll have a lot more information on that. So please double check IT after you put them in. If you're receiving notifications, please check those, and just please, in this time, please help us and try to stay on top of your work email. So been getting a lot of questions about 2 of our events. So you'll notice it says postponed or canceled. So here's the deal. Those of you, the primary teachers, there's about 100, maybe a little over 100 teachers who signed up for K2 Cantu. Look for an email today with a poll. I'm going to ask you, would you like it to be virtual? So it would be PD sort of like this. The advantage would be, I don't know that it would be time bound. So like, instead of having to pick one session at each time slot, you would theoretically be able to go to all of them when you had the time. So we're going to ask if you would like that to go virtual, or would you like it to be postponed? Or if that right now, the folks who signed up for K2 Cantu would really like to go. I can definitely imagine that. Speaking of which, not as many of you had signed up for the April and May spring Google boot camps. I can tell you that the April one is definitely not happening. But again, that will be a more general poll sent to all teachers and administrators. Would you like to do a virtual boot camp, or would you like to just wait for it to be postponed? So please keep an eye out for those, because the need for professional development and training right now is so vital. So we have found this really interesting thing happening. So many of you are connecting parents to Seesaw, which is great because we pay for that, and they are connected no matter where the kid goes, as long as they're still in the LSL school system. And some have connected using the Guardian emails feature on Google Classroom. But did you know that some of our own employees who have children in the district don't realize that they can be connected via Seesaw and Google Classroom to what their kids are doing, what assignments are coming out in this period of remote instruction? So we're going to ask that you, especially if it's a district employee who you'd be surprised don't realize they can be connected this way, please try to reach out and make sure that you have them connected. You can connect their LSL email if you'd like it, and you all have access to that. But also just generally, our parents are going to be so important in remote instruction, in leveraging, or who you're going to rely on for things like classroom management to some extent, right? You're going to manage your virtual classroom, but things where, so emails and communication have gone out about connecting that, and about using Google Voice and mobile privacy number. Those things have been added and updated onto the LSL Resources website. Additionally, the AFRC, so in case you're worried that our families don't get it, so I've said this before in the live stream, but another big shout out to Dr. Purnell and her staff at the 3 family resource centers, the LSL Family Resource Center, the MLK Family Resource Center, and the Frank Paul Family Resource Center. There are parents in our community who have switched their ESL classes, they're learning English now through Google Classroom online. So this idea of remote instruction is getting out to our family. So doing this is, at least some of our families do have working emails. It's really vital that we keep our families connected and abreast of what's going on. If you would like help contacting families, you can, that number on the screen is the direct line into the Family Resource Center. I spoke with Dr. Purnell this morning. She said she would be happy to help teachers connect with families. And I don't want to put, since this is going to be posted on the web, I don't want to put her full email up there. But if you go into Gmail and start an email to Carissa Purnell, it will autocomplete up. So it's just really vital that we get the message out to our families. I was speaking with the Bright vendor this morning. So, and she wasn't even aware, and she works for a tech company, and she wasn't even aware of all the ways that she could be connecting with her kids somewhere in Texas, I believe. So I think it's really important that we make sure we get our families connected and that we make them aware. There are more and more tutorials in English and Spanish on the LSL Resource website, which is linked off the district site under the parent section. There's no reason you can't send them the link there. That's a perfectly good resource for them. Yeah, I feel like I had one more thing, but you got an email today about best practices to avoid Zoom bombing. I'm not going to rehash that email, but I will say that if we are going to jump out to, that was a summary of best practices. If we come here to the district page and we come to tools for teaching, I'm going to zoom a little and we come down to Google Meet, there is the full document, excuse me, of best practices that we are outlining. They fall into two areas: technical practices and classroom protocols. There's also a link here. Some of you will certain features be available where it says read here. Google is rolling those out right now. Google doesn't drop an update the way, for example, Apple does, where everyone gets the update all at the same time. Google rolls it out over a period of weeks. So this rollout should be done like in the middle of spring break. Some of you might be seeing these features already, but I strongly encourage you to go and read this update blog. And then if you have any questions or confusion about that, you can go ahead and answer me, or not answer me, ask us at edtech@alisal.org. I feel like there should be a jingle there. In any case, but speaking of Meet, I am super happy to show you something that you will all be able to do. An email will be coming to you. It is scheduled to come out while this live stream is going, which is well. Several of you have asked, I want to be able to see all my kids in the Meet all at the same time. So look at what I'm going to show you. Everyone, these are ETLs, Dr. Ratliff, Dr. Hernandez, Miss Anso, and a bunch of our ETLs. You can all unmute yourself and say hello to the Alisal at this point, if you so desire. I think Tara Crampton from VRB and Maricar Osorio from MLK were going to sing to us. Do I remember that correctly? Do we have a song coming? Look, they're all diligently working. They're gotten so used to not hearing that they're not paying attention. So this is a Google Chrome extension called Grid View, and you can see right now it's accommodating up to 15.
Hello, Alisal.
Do I remember that correctly? Do we have a song coming? So I'm froze a little bit. As you know, this happens. Not paying attention. So this is a Google View, and you can. So I'm going to mute that site for a second. So even though you guys aren't muted, I'm muting this whole page in Chrome. Which, if you want to know how to do that, if you just need to mute a tab in Chrome, right-click on a Chrome tab up here, and where we right-click, and where it says Mute Site, you can mute the site. And even if they didn't unmute themselves, like Mr. Otero here is still talking, that's okay. So here's this thing. An email with a link to this Google Chrome extension is coming. And so far, we've had up to 15 people in it. Look, there's Miss Serrano from Alisal Community, and it looks like she's in the classroom. So this gives you a way to look at everyone in the call all at the same time. And they're moving a truck outside my office, and hopefully you can't hear the backup noise. So you will click and add this to your Chrome. And if we look in the upper right corner of mine, I have this tic-tac-toe grid. And by clicking it, I can turn Grid View on or off. I've just turned it off. And then you see that bar is through it. And then when I turn it back on and zoom out, I get a nice gallery view or a grid view for the Google call or the Meet call. And I believe it will handle more than 15. We did a bunch of last minute invitations last night when the functionality became available. I don't know what the maximum is. But you are welcome to try it out. So an email will be coming to you before the end of the live stream with the link. You add it to Google Chrome, and the control up here in the upper right will just be there for you to do. In the email, it definitely says to please not share this with students at the moment. We're going to be testing stability on student devices and see if it causes any issues. And then probably after spring break, if we are going to make this available for students, then we can push this out to student devices. So I know that some of you might have been asking for this, and here you go. Here it is. Okay, folks, before I hang up this call, would anybody like to unmute and say goodbye to the district before we head back over to the live stream? Oh, also, it's Crazy Hat Day at Montebello. That's why Miss Carrie is in a pirate hat, for those of you watching at home. She doesn't just remote instruct like that all the time. I mean, as far as we know. Okay, well, everybody's holding their peace. Thanks, guys. It was not. Thank you for help demonstrating this. I'm going to go ahead and hang up this call.
Happy Friday, everybody.
All right, here we
Bye,
go.
everyone.
It's Crazy Hat Day at Montebello. That's why Miss Carrie is in a. All right. So let's head back over here. Again, if you have anything to share for the web or for the live stream, please send it to edtech@alisal.org and put for the web /live stream or both over in the subject. And now I hope Miss Jorgensen is ready. I hope she has clicked over to unmute herself, and because we are going to have the part 2 of the live stream that Kim did earlier this week. And now let's head over to Miss Jorgensen, and it's all you, Kim.
Okay. Yes, share. Working on it.
So go ahead and start presenting whenever you're ready.
Okay.
There
we go. All right. So I'm not quite as scared as I was the first time. Still nervous, not quite as scared. This is more remote instruction with Eureka Math Part 2. And I just wanted to talk for a moment about all the great responses we're getting on that collaborative document. The bit.ly will come up again, I think. There are lots of suggestions for apps, applications for programs and things you can get off the internet. So that's really good. People have suggestions for things they can use. We're going to talk about taking a critical look at how to take a critical look at things when you're trying to pick something. But that document is also intended to collect ideas on how you are presenting your math lessons to your students. Any tips you might have, any oopses you had, how you might do things differently next week, things you've picked up from other people that you're going to try. But basically a place to collect all of our shared experiences. Oh yes, and any reactions from the kids. When do you seem to have more kids than other times? Anything that happens that gets them excited, that kind of information is really good for everybody. So here's our plan for today. We all know that numbers don't have to be represented by one digit, but they are in order. So if you don't feel like doing the math, that's the order. And all of these slides will go to EdTech after the broadcast. So if there's something on there that you want, it will be there. Also, of course, the recording will be there. And I wanted to address the questions and suggestions from Wednesday. Was it only Wednesday? Am I going to do any lessons? Yes. I'm getting emails asking me to do it with their class because I need a class to do it with, really. And over the weekend, I will come up with something, probably a kindergarten and maybe a third or fourth or second and a fifth or a sixth. And then reach out to those people and get something organized. I sent the bit.ly to EdTech yesterday, so I'm hoping it will be up on the remote instruction site soon, if it isn't already. And if you want to get the materials, this is the English materials. We'll talk about the Spanish ones on the next page. You go to your navigator, you go to the first module, any module actually, whatever module you're doing, and right underneath where the title of the module is, there are 3 PDF files. The first one is your TE. The second one is the problem sets, the homework, and the templates that you might want. And the third set are sprints, exit tickets, and the great big tests. So you can click on those and they will open up for you, and you can download them if you want. That way you don't have to keep going to find them. And then you can, well, you can pull them up, take a screenshot of the page you want them to work on, and push it out. We do have some materials in Spanish. We have print materials, and those can be gotten two ways. Jorge Martinez emailed Great Minds directly, and they sent it to him. He said, you know, I've got all the Spanish books. I need to push it out to my students. And they put it on his dashboard for him. The other way to get it, I will show you in just a second. When it comes to videos, however, we don't have any videos in Spanish, and I don't know how to fix that. Maybe we'll have to make our own. So let me show you another place to find. Actually, I'll show that to you when we go to the Knowledge on the Go section. So put a pin in that one, and we'll come back to that when we get there. So we only have to make one trip. Affirm. If your students haven't been using Affirm with you already, this is not the time to start. You have to setting them up, showing them how to log on, and then you really need to take them through a couple of practice tests in the room with them so you can see their frightened little faces and go around and look at their computer to see how they got stuck. And you can't really do that remotely. So if you haven't been using Affirm already, I don't know that it's going to be possible to start it now. If I think of a way, I promise to let you know. If you still want an Affirm account so that you can print out the tests and you don't have an Affirm account, I do have a self-help guide that will be coming out probably on Monday so you can get yourself signed up. There was a question about the video lessons that Eureka is offering, and we're going to go there next. But the reason there aren't any earlier ones than you see there is because the teachers who are recording them for their students right now. They record them and then they post them up. So they can't really go back in time and make the other ones. This is what I'm doing, and I'm going to share my broadcast with you. So I'm going to show you how to find them right now. You will go to your portal. You will click Eureka Math. And when you get here, you go up to here, and it should take us back to, cross your fingers, the main page for Great Minds. And it did. And their main page these days is showing the Knowledge on the Go. And this is where you go to get the resources. It will open in another tab. And here they are. You select your grade level and the teachers who are posting them up for grade 3, they're in module 5, so that's where you can find the lessons. When you click on a lesson, I hope I picked a good grade. Yes. If you look down here, you have the problem sets in Spanish. And there they are. So you can take a screenshot of that and send it out to them. And you can replay this video over and over to figure out how to get there again. So the other thing was, how do I find the chat in Zern to view the student lessons? It's not really in the chat, but I do have a self-help thing for Zern, and I took a couple of slides out of that to show us how to get there. So you will have this, and I'm going to take you there later on in the broadcast. So don't worry, it's going to go fast right now, but I will take you through it step by step when we get to a place where we're going to actually need this. So you will click the curriculum link here on the top. Don't click the link down here. It will take you to some advertising. When you click the top, it'll drop down this big menu. You don't need the scope and sequence. That's the big curriculum map we use. You don't need the mission overviews unless you want to see them, which is perfectly fine. But if you want to find a particular mission, you select your grade, you select your mission, and you click go. Then here is where it will take you to this big old page of stuff. Tells you where you are, other points of interest you might want to visit later. This is the teacher-led instruction part that they want you to really get interested in, so you'll buy their workbooks. This is where you find the student notes. It's very, very tiny because it's a link, but there it is for students, student notes and exit tickets, and we are going to go look at that later. And then here are the places where you can click on these little buttons to see what the lesson, each part of the lesson looks like for the students. So you will have this in the recording of this for later, and we will go through it step by step at a later part of the presentation. So here are the questions that are going to be coming later in the broadcast. And you can just take a look at those real briefly. Going to talk about the scheduling and what everybody should be doing. And I'm hoping to remember to talk about the differentiation for kindergarten. I'll just say it right now. Yes, the district isn't going to set a time for kindergarten. I know kindergarten always gets kind of left out in the big discussion. But no, 3 hours a week per subject, the language arts ELD part and the math part, too much for kindergarten. And that's the face-on-face time with the teacher. So let's start with like an hour, hour and a half, divide it up between the 4 days. It's not going to be as much. If you do 2 hours, that would be half an hour of face time, and it doesn't have to be a half an hour all at once. It can be a piece here, a piece there. Yes, kindergarten, TK, completely different critters. We understand that they're not going to sit in front of their computer for a huge amount of time watching you show stuff. And these were the suggestions that we got in the questions. All these wonderful things that people wanted to let us know about. And you will have this video so you can come back and look and then go check them out. Celia told us about Engage New York Formatives. I signed up for an account and I couldn't figure it out yet. So I'm going to have to talk to Celia to learn how to use it.
We got you, Kim.
What?
We got you.
Okay. Oh, and now it's questioning time before we go into more heavy-duty stuff. So my co-pilots are going to read questions to me.
Looks like you're good to go, Kim. So far, nothing has come in that you can address, so keep on moving forward.
Okay, let's go. The thing I forgot last time was being intentional, which is, well, I have a little story to tell you. We've taken our little kids and we have dropped them off in the woods. And we have said, you're going to have to find your way to the standards, to mastery of this material without our guidance. We're not going to be able to lead you by the hand anymore. We are leaving pebbles, not breadcrumbs, real pebbles on how to get there. The problem is there are a lot of distractions on the way, not just in their house, but for us. Because having to teach remotely is really, really hard. And we are desperately looking for a way to make it easier, more palatable, more exciting, more something. So it's really easy to go on the internet and start pulling stuff saying, okay, this is my standard. I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. The only thing about that is Google doesn't know how to unpack a standard. So you look for a standard on something and it gives, some of those math standards are huge. They've got 25 parts to them. And sometimes when you find something online attached to a standard, it's going to cover the end result instead of all the steps. We've been on a path guided by Eureka where they've taken the standards, they have unpacked them for you already. They have labeled each piece of it as an objective or a lesson target, and you've been very carefully moving your way through step by step, one rung at a time up the ladder, and the kids are starting to get it. We're starting to see some results. It's been a really good path of discovery. And now it's all scary again. So what I want to encourage you to do, I want to encourage you to stay on the path, follow the lesson targets, and resist the temptation to pick up just anything that resembles the standard. Now, that doesn't mean to say that there isn't stuff out there that's actually useful. I want you to vet it. I want you to really look at it and say, I need to teach this lesson. I need to teach lesson 4. It's part of the standard, but my learning target is just this much. Does one of the things that I found on the internet allow me to address just that part? Is there a way I can use that to do this? That's the question you really want to ask yourself. Instead of allowing the bright and shinies out there to draw you away. If they do, I want you to look at them with a critical eye, because I know you can do that. And compare what you find with where you are on the path. If it's there, step by step, it's all there. Well, I already said that. Let's go on. Okay, so I'm going to show 2 videos. We have Dwayne Habacher. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but it'll have to do. And we have something from the Knowledge on the Go from Eureka. And these are both first grade Module 4, Lesson 1. And it's the same section of the lesson. Dwayne Habacher only does the problem set. He doesn't show you teaching the lesson. There's also a Padlet. In case it's all blurry, I got a comment that it was blurry sometimes. It's bit.ly/AUSD, capital M, math, capital P, Padlet, all squishy together with the AUSD. And I'm going to show you the 2 videos, and then you can go to that Padlet, and I'd like you to compare the teaching and the potential for learning that you see in those 2 videos. Cross my fingers that this is going to work. Yes. Sound is coming.
Right, this is first grade, Module 4, Lesson 1. And in this lesson, students are going to be comparing the efficiency of counting by ones and by counting by tens. And the idea is we want students to recognize that when they're counting a big, huge pile of things, that counting by tens, if we can organize those things into bars or groups of 10, that counting by 10 is much more efficient than counting by ones. 10, 20, 30, 40 is much quicker to count up to 40 than it is to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and keep counting forever, right? And ultimately, this is leading our students into that wonderful invention called the place value system, where we have columns of ones, tens, hundreds, etc. So this is a foundational lesson leading towards that place value system. So let's get started on this. All right, so what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to circle groups of 10 and write the number to show the total amount of objects. And the idea is we've got all these, let's call these, marbles. These are marbles. And we've got all these marbles, but we've got this, glass jar with 10 marbles. And then we've got this glass jar of 10 marbles. So we're going to circle our groups of 10. So there's 2 groups of 10. Now write the total number right here. Write the number to show the total amount of objects. Well, ideally, what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, here's 10. Here's another 10, so that's 20. So we're going to say 10, 20, and then 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. And so there are 26 marbles. So something parents and teachers I want to point out to you up here is Eureka Math is really setting the stage for those 10 frames because they've got these in groups of 5 right here. So I want you to imagine that those marbles are kind of being placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a 10 frame. So we actually have kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's kind of, this is really this. So up here, they're kind of setting the stage for the 10 frames. Again, right here, we can see that we've got 10 here, 10 here, 10 here. So I'm going to circle those, 10, 20, and 30. So there's our 10, 20, and 30. And now we're going to count 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. So we have 38 balloons. And once again, for your differentiation, you can see that this is a group of 5. So some of your students may even say 10, 20, 30, and immediately jump to 35. And then 36, 37, 38. More of the same, only now we are going to create number bonds to show the 10s and the 1s. So the idea is, I see 2 groups of 10, so we're going to call that 20. And then I see, let's see, 4 over here, 3 over here, so I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 1s. So they did ask us to circle our 10. So there's a 10, there's a 10, so there's our 20. And that's why we've got 20 right here. And then we had 7 individual juice boxes. So how many do we have altogether? We have 27 juice boxes. Now, question 6 was curious to me, and I thought I would point it out because it just seems like there might be a typo. So we're going to say circle the 10s to help. Well, here's one group of 10. That's what we're going to assume is a group of 10. But then, unlike all of our previous examples, you'll count over here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have another group of 10. So we have 10 and another 10, which is 20. So we really have 20 and nothing in the 1s place. So how many crayons do we have altogether? We have 20. That's a little unusual. So, oh, by the way, we should put 27 here. And we're going to put 20 right there. That's a little unusual. I probably, at this point of the game, would have preferred to have one of these gone so that our number would be 19. We would have 110 plus 9, and we'd have 19. Or perhaps I would have 2 boxes of 10 and then just 1 crayon and have 21. Again, now they're just kind of...
Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next slide. Oh, see if I can stop this for just a moment. I want to go over to the Padlet. I have to figure out how to get there. There we go. So the Padlet bit.ly is all caps, AUSD Math Padlet with a capital M and a capital P. And I'm hoping that maybe I get some posts here. If not, we'll just go on and I'll figure out what happened. And perhaps if there is a problem, somebody will write it on the form and let my co-pilots know so they can tell me. Ah, yay! All good. Okay. All good means it's working or
Yes.
or nobody's
The bit.ly's working. We can add posts. So on that front, everything's good.
And nobody's written in to say, I'm stuck. I don't know the bit.ly.
Not so far.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back to the other. Oh, we have somebody. Yay! An anonymous. That's gotta be, can't tell, it's a tree. Okay, so we're going to go back to the other one. And one thing I forgot to say before we started Dwayne's was to look to see, both of them are intended to be helpful in bringing mathematical understanding to your students. The point of the lesson is to compare the efficiency of counting by ones and by tens. And to, I want you to see if you can tell who the intended audience is supposed to be. Yes, I thought that perhaps you might want to put any thoughts you had about Dwayne first, and then I'll put the other one, but that's okay. I will put the other one up and we can get right to the comparing. Let's see if I'll go back to here, and we'll go back to here, and here we go.
So perhaps.
No. We're going to go back.
So perhaps you shared with your adult that you noticed with problem 2, you were counting the carrots by 1, and in problem 6, you were counting the carrots, or they were shown in groups of 10. When I solved these problems, number 6 was more efficient for me because the carrots were in groups of 10. So I was able to count the carrots faster. So I have 2 examples from my students, and they solved it 2 different ways. Let's have a look. So my first student saw that the ones that were in 5 group columns were actually a group of 10. So they circled the ones to make another group of 10. Then they went to complete the number box and saw that the value of all of the 10s was 30. Let's count to check. 10, 20, 30. So this student recorded 30 as one part for the value of the 10s, and then 0 because there were no ones outside remaining. Another student solved it differently. This student counted the groups of 10s, 10, 20, then wrote the value of those 10s in the number bond. And then the student counted their ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and wrote the value of the ones. 2 different ways to solve, but both of these ways are showing our total of 30.
Ah, there we go. So in the one that you just saw, she had given a whole concept development lesson and then told them which problems on the problem set she wanted them to do and had them go do it. I only showed some of those on the video because otherwise we'd be here. We're already going to be here awfully long as it is. So think about who the intended audience was for both of those and how much thinking and reasoning was going on in both of those. And of course, because she doesn't have her real class in front of her, I'm not sure if a student actually did those or if those were fake students doing those that she was commenting on. And we are going to see the rest of the Knowledge on the Go video later, well, most of it. So I see you've picked up that Dwayne's videos are really more for teachers and possibly parents, not something that you would necessarily actually show the students. Did anybody catch what Dwayne said when he started the problem set? He said, this is what we're supposed to do. And almost all of his videos, I haven't watched them all, there are probably hundreds, but the ones I have, he's usually talking about what they're going to do. So, as if the activity is doing the page. That's just a little concerning to me. It may not be concerning to everybody. Okay. Warren, both were great, but target audience was different. Yes. Okay, so I think the biggest difference is the target audience. These really are not videos to help to show the kids, and his aren't really for the kids, and they don't tell you how to. They help you through the objective of the lesson, what it is you want the kids to be able to understand at the end, but it doesn't really show you how to get them there. Okay, so I'm going to go back to here. There we go. And do that. So it doesn't play again. Yes. And there was the Padlet address. I knew I had put it in again somewhere. So I've already showed you how to get to the knowledge on the go, but I'll do that again because I also want to show you how to get to the webinar library, because these are both places that will give you videos. If you don't use the knowledge on the go to show your students, it might give you ideas how to present it remotely. And then the webinar just on more goodies. So I'm going to go there. Nope, that wasn't right. There we go. So this was the knowledge on the go. You can watch any video you want from the lessons that they have already recorded. Not before this crisis started, unfortunately. Then, if you want to go back to find the webinars, which are recorded, click up here. Yes, and you go back to the main page. And up here, click on the math. And it will take you to all kinds of goodies. This is also the Knowledge on the Go link. And if you look here up on your green navigation bar to webinars, you have a whole bunch. These are the ones that you would register for, but these are the ones that have already been recorded. Some of these we've already done. But here we have, this one might be particularly good for 6th grade if you want to see that slope with rate thing going on. Making the most of math misconceptions will help you know what to be on the lookout for. All of these good old tape diagrams, all of this stuff that you might find useful later on. Alrighty, back to here. And we have another questioning break.
All right, Kim, we have a few questions here for you. So we will throw them out and you can answer them as you see fit. The first question is, and I think with Celia's help, we can answer this one. The question, and I think this is from Lucy at VRB. The question is, what is the difference between affirmative, and I think she means affirm, and then formative? So since you haven't used formative, maybe you could answer the first part and Celia could chime in with the second part as to what formative is.
Okay. Formative, the site,
exactly.
Not formative, yeah. The kind of assessment. Okay.
I believe so.
Oh, I can talk about formative assessment. No. Okay, so affirm is a place where you can get digital online assessments at the module level or even just at the topic level. And they're graded for you. They have all the drag and drop tools that they're going to find on the SBAC. And so the company that hosts Affirm is called Edulastic. Edulastic has all kinds of free assessments written by anybody who feels like writing a test. They also write their own, which have been vetted. But all the other ones, you have no idea who's been putting them up there. Then there's a special little corner of Edulastic that is reserved just for Eureka Math. Great Minds, I'm sure, is paying the privilege of having this little corner there where they put their tests that they have created that go along with the Eureka Math materials. So the mid-module assessment, it's a different one than what's in the book. An end-of-module assessment that is different. The ones in the book want to stretch the kids to take what they've learned and go beyond what they've learned, which means they don't always resemble what it was you taught, but the ones in Affirm do go along more with what you taught. And yay, they have topic assessments so you can have more frequent assessments that you can get a grade for and therefore are not more likely to try to use your exit tickets as grades. So that's what Affirm is. It's a online test, part of an online testing site. Over to you, Celia.
So for anybody who was curious, Formative is a digital platform for formative assessment, and it's not bound to any one curriculum or publisher or even content area. It's just a platform to create and push out and grade and monitor students' formative assessments. And so you can make your own in any content area. But if you were in that document that Kim shared yesterday, where we were all putting in some resources, I linked a document where all of the exit tickets are already pre-made for you. And so if you were interested, you could get a copy of those formative assessments that are directly from Eureka's exit ticket. So they've just been digitized. They also auto-correct if they're a selected response, and they get like collected into a teacher dashboard. So it is very similar, I would say. But I might echo what Kim is saying in terms of if formative is something that's new for both you and or your students, you might want to think about how doable it is for you and your students, and what your intention is, and just consider some of these things that we've brought up.
So it sounds that the main difference is that Affirm is more like summative assessments. Not that it has to be. You could make formative ones there, or you could use some of them as formative, and that formative is more for short, real quick formative assessments. So that's a very important difference and quite a useful difference. But yes, if you haven't been doing it, it may be very difficult to explain it to the kids. Of course, you can always make a webcast and have a go at it. This is how it's done. Okay, on we go. Oh, are there more questions?
Yes, we have a couple more, Kim, and a couple of them might be things that you can decide whether you want to answer, or maybe that they can be answered, once this screencast becomes something you can rewind and watch again. They'll be answered if you just rewatch it. But a couple of people want it. I'll leave it up to you. One of us, can you please show us again how to access the grade level digital resources? That was in Great Minds, I believe, where you showed the PDFs at the beginning. And then the other one had to do with, can you please post the Padlet address again? So those, I'll leave those up to you.
I will go back to the Padlet, and I will show you again how to find the Spanish ones. And yes, I'll show you how to do those real fast before we go on. So let's see. There's the Padlet.
And Kim, Kim, there is a couple more. So once you, I'll kind of share those with you, and then you can let us know if you want, how much longer there's left on your live cast, and if we need to take a break, okay? Because we're about an hour in.
Yes, we'll take a break after we finish answering these questions because it's going to get even more intense. I will show. Let me go back because you know me, I'll forget. So escape here, escape, and go back to how to get to the materials. So go to your portal. As I'm trying to remember what I did.
I think you clicked up on the top corner.
So no, but to get to the regular English ones. Oh wait, we can get both of them from the same place. We're going to go here. This is the Knowledge on the Go, and you will be able to watch this again. Select your grade. We'll pick second. And then these will only have the links for the materials in these modules. However, these links are the places where you could get the Spanish materials and the English ones for that particular lesson. If you're there, you can scroll down to here. I just discovered this yesterday. So here are the classwork and homework templates that are in PDFs, sprints and fluencies, parent tip sheets, also in Spanish, and some card games. Ooh, I forgot to mention, if I don't do it now, I'll forget. Dwayne, if you go to his site, his channel, he has a whole bunch of videos on math games. I haven't got to watch them yet. I'm going to do that today. So the other place, it wasn't working for me going to our site. Let me go back to my dashboard. The other place is on your dashboard. It's supposed to be here. There we go.
Just so you know, Kim, I tried that also a little while ago, and I had to do it a couple of times. Maybe a lot of people are accessing it, so I had to redo it, and then it worked.
I have a specific. So don't be disappointed. Just go back and try again. So if you go to a module, as soon as you open the module, right underneath the name of the module, you have a PDF of the teacher's manual, which you probably don't need, the student file, and on my little picture, it told me what was in there. And this one has the exit tickets. This one has the student problem sets and any templates they're going to need. It also has homework if you need more of the same problems. And this has the exit tickets and the end of module and mid-module assessments. And you just click on them and they will open for you in a great big long thing. So if you go here and you want them to do a specific problem set, well, we're not going to do that one. Here's a problem set. You can take a screenshot. Remember where you parked it. I parked mine on my desktop, and it will eventually get there.
How did you do that, Kim? How do you take a screenshot for people?
Oh, I need to say it, don't I? Sorry. Mine is Shift-Command-4. Gives me those little crosshairs. And I just draw the box. And when I let go of the box, it takes the picture and puts it in my desktop place. If you don't set a place for the screenshots to go, they might go to your whatever this is down here, your downloads. I'm not sure because I set mine for here a long time ago and I don't even remember how I did it. But then you can push that out so they have something they can do and write all over and send it back to you if you'd like. Okay, so we're going to take a break. I don't have a fancy little countdown timer.
Sorry, Kim. One last question.
Oh, one last question. Sorry. Yes.
Sorry, and one of them is really quick, and then one of them is maybe you might have to kind of go a little bit deeper. One really simple is knowledge on the go in Spanish.
No.
That's easy. Okay.
The videos are only in English, I'm afraid, because those are the teachers that have volunteered their time to record themselves and post them up for everybody.
Yeah, and then
and I'm looking into figuring out how they do them.
Okay. And the second one is more about just practice, how to do this. It has to do, for example, just a little bit more clarity on, I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, like how many lessons per week. And related to that is I've seen a colleague use videos for K2 with objectives and goals in the beginning. Would you advise to include this or just include the content? So I'll leave those up to you.
Okay, and that's what we're going to come back to, which is the scheduling. Well, first we'll do goals, and then we'll do scheduling, and we'll talk about all that. So
Great.
There we go.
I'll go ahead and start a timer then, and I'll kind of take over and present, okay?
Thank you very much.
I got it, George.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Breathe.
No. All right, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. And Kim, whenever you're ready, you can take it away. Kim, you are still muted.
There we go. And my screen is not presenting. Is it? Is it presenting?
Yes, it is.
Okay, here we go. So the goals for each grade. Since this might be a really fun time to practice taking screenshots, because we're going to go through this pretty quickly, and you can take a screenshot of your grade. What I'm going to show you is in a document that I will then send to EdTech so they can post it up on the site, so you can download it later if you wish. So TK, basically we want them to be able to count, talk about math, and have some one-to-one correspondence even if they can't tell you what a quantity is. Kindergarten, well, I'm not going to read each one. You can see it there. Alrighty, I'm just going to read it to myself, and then I'm going to go to the next slide. Basically, Module 4. If they come to first grade with Module 4 under their belt, they will survive. First grade, also Module 4.
Kim, would you mind putting it in percent mode so we can see a little better?
Whoops, sorry.
Thank you.
There we go. There. First grade, also Module 4, everything there is to know about place value with tens and making a fair exchange with them and adding 2-digit numbers. Second grade, it says no videos next to Module 5 because there aren't any, because the people who are doing them for Eureka are in Module 6. But these are the things they need to have to be able to survive third grade. They really have to be able to add without counting everything on their fingers. Finger counting's fine, but not starting from 1. Because when they're counting multiples to do multiplication, it's going to take them forever if they have to count on for every single number. So that's a very important strength, and they're not going to get a lot of practice in it in third grade. As you see, Module 6, they need to leave being able to count multiples and making arrays to count the multiples. Third grade, most of you are probably still in Module 3, not 3, 4. I don't think there are any videos available for Module 4. Module 3 is an important one because it gives them the multiplication facts and the strategies all the way up to 10 by 10. Module 5, you're starting it with fractions, and they have to be able to do these things. All right, maybe not as much. Fourth grade is going to start with some of this stuff, but anything that you can get down here would be good, would be nice. But being able to multiply, it's the same thing for second grade, needing to come into third grade, not struggling with addition. They need to go to fourth grade with at least some strategies to use up to 10 by 10. If they don't know 7 times 8, maybe they know 7 times 5, and then they can count on from there. Those kinds of strategies. Or being able to easily count multiples, to be able to use that in fourth grade. Fourth grade. They really need to get, that's when they come back to the addition and subtraction with all of the regrouping all the way up to the thousands, and they're going for the standard algorithm. That's why they really need to be firm in second grade, because they're basically skipping real hard work on it in third grade and then jumping back into it in fourth grade. They also need to go to fourth grade with their strategies for multi-digit multiplication. And fourth grade has to do all the really hard work with fractions. Making equivalent fractions, ordering them, all of that good stuff. That's really intense there. For multiplication, they're going on from third grade Well, actually, they're doing the whole thing. I'm sorry, 4th grade. No, they're taking, let me start over. 4th grade is taking what they did in 3rd grade and making it bigger. The really big new hard stuff in 4th grade is fractions. And they have to get very firm on that because 5th grade is going to assume they can do most of that. 5th grade turns it all into decimal fractions, so they need to be really strong with their decimal fractions by the end of Module 3. Module 4 is the biggie. Going to do more hard work with fractions, including, well, all those lovely things that are down there. And again, Module 4 has, this time it has the other ones, at least if you got to the other big part, second half of your grade level, there are videos available. At this point, the part that comes after this is not as critical as Module 4, but they're beyond that, so there aren't any videos. And 6th grade, they go into functions and things after Module 4, and that would be really nice if they could go to 7th grade with that stuff. But if they cannot do the stuff that comes up in Modules 1 and 3, they will not even begin to survive 7th grade. They have to be able to work with these dual things that are going on at the same time that happens in these 4 places. Well, the first 3, rational numbers is doing it all again with negative numbers and things. So this has to be really firm going into 7th grade. And I hope you had time to take screenshots. I will have this up on a document for you when it has a chance to be uploaded. Any questions?
Yes, Kim. From the ones that have come in, they've been more about, they've been more, and they're very general. This is more about, it seems like some grade levels or some teachers already have a plan in place, and they're a little bit unsure as to how this should affect what they already have in place. Do you want to comment on that? I don't know how to answer that, but it's something to that effect. Like, for example, it's like, currently we're in this module. Should we move into that module based on what you just shared? Or we had planned to do this module after this module, or those kinds of questions.
Okay, so this kind of goes into another question from before, like how many lessons a week should we do?
Yes, I think that those are all related. I would agree.
At this point, you've got a couple of things working against being able to complete the entire year's worth of stuff. One, as you will see in our next session on scheduling, you're only going to get to do at most 2 lessons a week. So you're now down to half speed, less than half speed. And not all of your students are going to be it might be that not all of your students are attending or getting it. So while the geometry is really nice and it's important, it is not critical to their survival in the next grade. So I went and I looked through to see which was really critical. Now, if you're already up where this says, or you've passed it and they're good at it, that's wonderful. But if let me find one. If they come to 5th grade, if they come to 6th grade and they cannot do all kinds of things with fractions, ratios work the same way. And they're going to have a terrible time finding equivalent ratios if they can't find equivalent fractions. And being able to find equivalent fractions goes back to, I can multiply without having to count on my fingers. So they need to have everything built. You can't do the ratios until you can really do equivalent fractions. You can't do equivalent fractions if you can't multiply. You can't multiply if you can't count multiples, which means you need to be able to add. So all of those things are really foundational for the grade that comes after you. And they really have to understand place value. They have to know 4th grade, all that tens going up, all the tens going down. That is really, really critical to their understanding of what's going on. So if, let's say you are in a module on geometry, I don't think you should feel guilty if you abandon it at this point and go on to one of these that I've mentioned that comes next. You can also email me and we can figure it out together, because right now I'm playing Guess What's in Your Mind. So that's the best I can do for now. And next question.
That was it, Kim.
Okay. Scheduling. This is just an idea. This is just my idea if I were going to do it. And I'm not sure that it would even work. I would, try it for a week and say, ooh, maybe I need to change this. But this is kind of what's in my head. And if you have other ideas or have come up with a better plan or a plan that works better for you, please send them into the document or send them to me so that we can compile a list of many possibilities and people can do what fits for them. But it goes something like this. It's 3 hours a week per subject per week. So if you're teaching one, and don't forget we have to also share time with language arts. So they also get 3 hours a week. So for half a week, for the Monday and Tuesday, that's an hour and a half of language arts and an hour and a half of math. And one of those, you're going to need more time on one day than the other because, concept development is not always short. So my thought went like this. I have to do concept development before I can do a problem set and the debrief and the exit ticket. I can't really switch them around very easily. So I'm going to put my math on Monday and the lighter stuff from language arts on Monday, like phonics and maybe the ELD. I don't know if that's really lighter, but I'm going to start with a very quick fluency lesson just because that's my hook. I need to make it fun. I'm going to do my concept development, and then I'm going to lead them into their problem set, which they are then going to complete on their own. So the FaceTime part is the fluency and the concept development and introducing the problem set. Tuesday, I'm going to again start with a fluency lesson because it's fun. We want to pick out stuff that's fun. Then I'm going to do the application problem. Usually that comes before concept development, but I can't keep stuffing all that stuff in that one. That's big. Application problem is supposed to take about 9 minutes. You can also have them do it on their own and then send it to you. You can do, oh, by the way, you don't always have to do the entire hour together. You can break it up. Or the entire half hour on Tuesday together. You can break it up. But they would do the app, they can do the application problem, they can send it into you, you can look at it, you can post some of them. You can review the concept development for just a little bit because then you want to look at, oh, they have to send in their problem sets to you. I got slides on this. Then there's the debrief and the exit ticket. And then we rinse and repeat for Wednesday and Thursday. I have no idea if this is going to work. Just my thought. Friday is supposed to be for us to have PD and for you to be able to plan. So for the students, that doesn't mean vacation. It means independent work, catching up what they didn't do, maybe some more fun things if they are done. I'm not quite sure. That is definitely dependent on what you want to do with it. That was the quick one. All right, so let's take a look at each piece. So for fluency, you want to do something that is parallel to whatever has been suggested in Eureka because it usually leads into the lesson or supports the lesson some way. It prepares or reviews what you're going to be doing or what you have done. So, and fluencies don't really work that well because they're kind of hard to time. But those could be given just as work, like on Friday. Here, go work on these. Or it can be given like after you're done with the concept development and say, when you're finished with your problem set, I'm sending one of the fluencies out to you to work on. They can have a fluency page, an A or a B side every day, just as continual practice. But it doesn't really work as a fluency activity because you can't get the excitement going that well. Well, maybe you can if you're doing it face-to-face. That might still work. Anyway, you want something that parallels or prepares them for what's coming up in the lesson. It needs to be fun and engaging. And the example I'm going to show you today, I don't think is particularly fun and engaging, but that's what it is. And it needs to be quick. And you're thinking, yes, and where's my magic wand? I'm sorry, I still don't have them. How can we do the concept development? A live cast. You could record yourself. I would suggest using manipulatives and asking the students to go gather manipulatives that would work. They probably don't have Unifix cubes at home, but they can pennies up there. They can put whatever little things they want that they can group into tens or whatever they're going to do with them. Then you can also do Zern, and I have a note to demo how we can do that, even if you don't have Zern. This is just how to present it using those buttons I showed you earlier. There's Zern. So here is my Zern, and see if I can make it bigger. If you go to this curriculum, you will not get where you want to go. You want to go to this curriculum. When you click on this curriculum, it takes you to this drop-down menu. I'm going to pick first grade, but I don't want to go here. This gives me a curriculum map. This just gives me an overview, like the module overview. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to pick first grade, and I'm going to pick module 4 and go there. And I've been gone too long. There we are. Now I have to make it, well, I'm not going to make it smaller. So up here, you can look at the overview if you really want to. This is where you can go back to find foundational missions. These are the exit tickets. There is a lot of stuff on these exit tickets you don't need, unless you want them to have them. You can send those. They can keep track of their goals and their badges and all the things they've completed if you want to. But we're just going to come down here for lesson 1. This is their student notes count by 10 piece of paper, and there's the exit ticket. So I would, at this point, Command Shift 4 to take my screenshot and push that out to my students so they will have it. They will also need an extra piece of paper or an extra slide on their seesaw or just a piece of paper, because there are places in the upcoming lesson where they're just going to type stuff in which they won't be able to do the way we're going to show it. So then you come back here. See, if you don't want to do it, you can buy the books. We're going to come down here to lesson 1. And this would be a fluency activity. This would be a fluency activity. This requires them to type in something, so that doesn't work as something you can record. This requires them to move stuff around, so that doesn't work by recording it. This, however, will work a little bit. So if you click on it, you will get what they see. All of these bubbles down here are places where the video will stop and it asks the students to do something. You can get your screencast going, and
hey there, Zerner. Look at all these carrots. How many carrots do you see?
So this is one of the places where they would have to type it in. So you can ask them, send them some kind of a format if you wanted to go through this and take pictures of this ahead of time and send them out, however you want to deal with it, but they need to type in or count something. And anybody have an idea? I really want to count them 5, 10, 15. Oh, there are 20.
20.
Yes. So you would just type it in for them to show it later when they got back. And if you were able to use Zern,
how many carrots?
It will read it to them. You can read it to them too. You can, when you're recording it, you can do that for them so they can hear it. We enter that. Yay! Of course we got it right.
I counted 20 carrots, but it took me a long time.
I agree. Counting by ones is hard for me because I lose my place. Then I have to start all over. making groups of 10 helps us count more efficiently. So let's arrange these carrots into groups of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 1, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
So you see how this is
That's another 10.
more developmental.
Now,
well,
count by
shows
tens.
them what they're doing.
How many carrots?
So now, of course, you could do this with your voice. You could do the clicky thing.
How many carrots?
And you could say 10, 20, pausing to let them have a chance, and then putting it in for them. And I would even, at this point, say, stop the video and do it yourself, and then come back to see how we did.
10, 20. There are 20 carrots.
That's right. No matter how we count, by ones or by tens, we get the same number, 20. But counting by tens is more efficient than counting by ones.
So I'm going to kind of skip along through here. And just so we can go fast and show you where the Zern notes come in. 5, 10, 12. I am not the fastest subitizer.
There are 12 linking cubes.
And now we have our more efficient way of doing it.
Count with me. 10, 11, 12. There are still 12 linking cubes. Let's show this with a number bond.
How many linking cubes are in this group?
There are 10 linking cubes.
Unfortunately, you cannot skip the actual things here.
Count with me. 10, 20,
20 linking cubes here because they're.
And this is where they get their notes. So they would, what they need to do is they need to make their number bond themselves in their notes. And after they do that, they can take a picture of it and send it to you. They can record what they did and send it to you. And you can then take these things and display them the next day or talk about some of them the next day because they want to hear from us and we need to find ways to engage them or get them to come back or feel like they're part of a community. And this is one of the things you can do. So, and then they talk about it.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's one group of 10. Here's another group of 10. Check your work. Now, complete the number bond to match the picture. Count to find the total number of apples and write that here in the number bond. Write how many apples are in groups.
So after they've done each piece, it comes back and shows them what it should look like. So nobody's left hanging there. They get feedback all the time.
Count with me.
I'm just going to get through the rest of this for us because you can certainly go.
Try this last one on your own. Complete the number bond to match the picture. Write the tens in one part and the ones in the other part.
There you go. Last one done.
10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. There are 34 total strawberries.
That's right. James, what are our 2 parts?
Up here in this corner where it says notes, that's another place where you can get the notes. If you can't find the little teeny tiny link to get the notes, you can get them just for that lesson. I don't know if it's just for that lesson. Let's go see. Yes, it's just for that lesson. You can get them right there without having to do the whole thing. So whichever way you want to do it. And that's it for Zern. Okay. And we are almost done. Close that. And I can put this back up. The problem set, I couldn't think of anything more than pushing out a digital copy. But assign the problems and assign a limit and then ask them to explain it to an adult. Same thing with the application, which I spelled wrong, problem. And we're going to see a little bit of a lesson where it shows you how they're doing it. And then the debrief. The more you can have kids come in and talk on Meet, the more you can have a connecting discussion. We want the children to keep talking about math. The more you talk about math, the more you understand it. But because we need to split the lesson into 2 days, it's going to not come on the same day that they just did the problem set, which is what you're talking about. So when you get to it on the second day, have a little bit of a review of what was in the concept development the day before, and then have some of their problem set answers that they sent in ready to go to talk about. There are suggested questions in your textbook. So the exit ticket's a little bit tricky because, you know, they might not do their own work. What I thought. It's not a test. I think it's very important that you have a conversation with your students repeatedly about that. It's not a test, and to be able to help everybody, you need to know where they're getting stuck, and if someone helps them and then you can't tell where they're getting stuck, or you just give up on the exit tickets, or you put them, it doesn't matter how you put them because somebody can always be helping them. So that's something for each one to wrestle with, and please put your suggestions up on the communal document. Questions? And then we'll be on our last part.
All right, Kim. So let's see. There's a question. There are a couple questions actually about Spanish resources. And so one quick one is just asking, are the Zern math chats available in Spanish?
I'm afraid they are not. I ask them every year. No, they don't have them in Spanish.
Okay, so kind of related to that, since a lot of these resources are only in English, and with all the things happening with shelter in place and emergencies, is it okay to use the English resources if somebody is in a bilingual or in a DI classroom?
Okay, so I'm not any kind of official person who can make like official pronouncements on that. But if it were my class and that were my choice, I would say, hey, a little bit of extra ELD every day. We'll switch over to Spanish. But if you're going to give them some material in in English, then you would want to be doing the lesson also in English with a lot of support. So the vocabulary isn't strange on the paper.
That makes sense. There was one other question about, like, just, I think, trying to meet the needs of a teacher who's trying to figure out how to do Spanish in terms of, like, maybe using some of these resources that you're showing, Kim, but maybe, for example, screencasting themselves speaking in Spanish and, like, explaining in Spanish.
Could you do the first part of that one again?
Can I do what?
Can you say the first part of that again? Monica.
I think the question is trying to figure out a way to support teachers who instruct in Spanish.
Okay, so here's the good news. This just hot off the presses. Monica is working on Spanish for K2. For Zern?
Not for
Zern. For Eureka. Okay, she's working on it for Eureka. And maybe I can talk her into working on it for Zern.
And they should get an email.
And she's going to send out an email.
Are those resources like what is it exactly that she's getting in Spanish?
Well, I can just tell them.
That you'll be getting the student work, the student like textbook, and then I think also the teacher TE. So from Great Minds. So each teacher should be getting
the digital
version of the Eureka. And so K2 bilingual teachers, DI teachers, they should be getting an email from Great Minds in maybe 20 minutes. I'm working down the list.
And by digital, you mean a PDF?
Yes.
Yes.
Got it. I think this question was more in terms of like finding videos or like these Zern activities, Kim, which are all in English.
I can have a go at it, but we have a huge base of people who know what they're looking for. And if with all of this now connectivity, if one person finds something, put it in the document, put a great big red box around it that says Spanish. So we know where we can find stuff, and we're all not end up looking at the same, looking and only finding one place because we're only looking one place. I will do what I can. All right, we've got any more questions?
Kim, we have a question, and I think this kind of falls right into our department here in EdTech from Anna Lila at MLK, Go MLK. Mm-hmm. So the question is, do we know if we could insert our voice in Spanish to the video? So just so that you know, I just tried that right now as Celia was kind of passing you the questions. And yes, you can. What you want to do is you want to use Screencastify, and Screencastify, you have the option to record the audio that is coming from that tab. So in this case, it would be the Zern video that you just showed, or the Zern little math talk, I believe that's what it was called. And instead of, and it won't, what you do is you record your voice talking, your explanation, either with your voice in English, or if you're a bilingual teacher, you could record yourself in Spanish over that video that that is playing in Zern. So that can be done with Screencastify.
Cool. Okay. Well, any more questions? I've got one more thing, and I think I have just enough time.
That is it for now.
Okay. Last part. This is I'm going to take you to the Eureka link and show you pieces of a lesson. Because we only saw the problem set part before. First grade, module 4, nope, I want lesson 1 because I know what it looks like. So, this is how she starts teaching it.
My name is Miss Lassiter, and I taught math in North Carolina. This is low learning today. Lastly, you will need your student workbook. You will be completing your problem set and exit ticket like you do every day when you are in school. If you do not have your student workbook, do not worry.
So she's clearly sent all this stuff home.
Your parent, it's okay. So go ahead and pause the video at this time. And today, and we way,
there we go,
or a fast way that I can count my 40 objects. Pause the video and think, what is an efficient way or a faster way that I could count my 40 objects? Pause the video. So maybe you were thinking that you could count your 40 objects by 2s, or maybe you can count them by 5s. Today, let's start by counting them by 5s. And I want you to organize your cubes into 5 groups like this. Go ahead and pause the video to organize your cubes or your objects so that they look like my objects. Once you have organized your objects into 5 groups like mine, come back and press play. Now, let's count our cubes just to make sure that it's 40 and see if it's faster than counting it by ones. Count them with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So first we had them as one scattered all about. This time we counted it by fives, and our total is still 40.
So I'm going
Okay, now at this time,
I'm going to let you watch the rest of that concept development. You can kind of see it going by there on the bottom. She goes from the 5s to the 10s, counting by the 10s. Then we're going to start making stacks of them and making number bonds. It's all one piece at a time. And then she gets to this one where there aren't any ones left over. And then she heads them into their problem set and tells them which ones they're going to do. And then gets into the part that we watched that I cut up, and you'll want to see more of that. After that, we get to a fluency segment.
A special education teacher in Binghamton, New York for 16 years. Before we start our practice, I'm going to need you to gather a few items. You're going to need 10 pennies and 1 dime. So hit pause in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen while you gather those items. And then when you're ready, come on back and hit the play button on that toolbar. I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, I'm glad you're back. We're going to start by counting my pennies. You can just watch on the screen first, and then in a moment, I'll give you a chance to practice on your own. We're going to count 1 penny at a time. Do you know how much 1 penny is worth? I hope you said 1 cent. So we're going to count my pennies by the units of 1 cent. We're going to start with 1 cent, 2 cents, 3 cents.
So she's going to go through this rather slowly, actually. Not the quickest, most exciting one, but this would be much better to do before the concept development because it's got that counting and the exchange of the pennies. Then when she gets to this part,
what if I count backwards? We're at 50 cents. 10 less is 40 cents, 30 cents. Now we're going to go back up. 40 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents, 70 cents.
so that should look familiar. We usually do it with our thumbs going up and down. She's doing it with dimes instead. Now we come to an example of the application problem.
Let's read today's problem all together. Read with me. Joy is holding 10 marbles in one hand and 10 marbles in the other hand. How many marbles does she have in all? Let's read that first part again to help us make sense of Joy's problem. Joy is holding 10 marbles in one hand. Let's pause there and think. Can we draw something? Yes, we can. What can we draw? Are you picturing one hand
There we
holding
go.
10 marbles? That's what I'm picturing too. Watch me as I draw that. Count with me as I draw the 10 marbles. 1, 2.
So he's going to model this whole application problem, which is a valid way of doing an application problem, especially if it's something new. Lesson 1, this is something new. So he's going to model the whole thing. It's going to take more than, well, it'll probably take about 9 minutes, so there won't be any time for the students to really do a lot of it on their own and take a picture of it to share it. And you can watch the rest of it because you can see how I got there and watch him go through the whole thing. I don't want to go over time, so I am going to stop there. And I don't really get into the exit ticket. But that's an example. You can hear how nice and patiently they speak when they do all of this. So back to here. Back to here. And this is our last time for questions. My question is, can I get a camera like that?
Sorry, Kim. Let's see here. I think a couple of questions have been about Zern. Again, is this an easier program? And I think you've kind of answered that. If your students are not familiar with it, you're not familiar with it, this is probably not the time to be starting something new. But I don't know if you want to add to that. And then go ahead.
So if your children are already on Zern and they have been using Zern, you don't have to record anything. You can just say, hey, you've got this lesson to do and I want it done before tomorrow, because we're going to add on more concept development to that. Because the Zern lesson is usually only one part of the concept development that's in the TE. If your students have never done it before, I wouldn't bother trying to sign them up and have them do it that way. But you can record, you can go in and record the same lesson and push out the lesson and have them do the activities on paper.
Great. Okay. And then the other one, this is just a quick response, Anna at Montebello, Sandoval. Yeah, you can do the same thing. So, you can use that tool about recording with Screencastify to dub over your voice on that. So that, hopefully that answers your question. There's one about, and this is kind of from a 5th grade teacher at Frank Paul, Ms. Bravo, thank you for sending this. It says, we have completed modules 1 through 4 and started working on the first lesson of module 5, it looks like, prior to the school shutdown. What would you recommend to focus on? To continue the module or focus on review? This is for fifth grade.
Let me go back and see what I said. Oops. Grade 1, module 4, lesson 1.
And those are all the questions, Kim, so I'll let you
close
out.
What I say about module 5, I mean about 5th grade. There. So they finished module 4. So if you have finished module 4 and you are a happy camper with how they're doing, module 5 will have videos. So if they've got all this and they're ready to go on to 6th grade, then take it away, do module 5, but make sure they have practice every night for that multiplication and the fractions so that they don't forget it when they get to 6th grade. They need to keep it up. And that's it, right?
That's all the questions we have, Kim.
Okay. So please add more if you need to. I will go over them again. And I think I'm done for a while, but I'm happy to send out little things if people want them. So there we go.
Okay, Kim. Thank you so much for leading us through that again today. We really appreciate that. So this is EdTech signing out of the live stream, off of the live stream. I know that this week has been just a ton of work for everyone. Take some time for yourselves this weekend. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and be good to our kids.